So when a YouTuber reaches 100,000 subscribers, YouTube sends them a silver play button as an award. Congratulations of sorts. But recently, YouTube started sending out a different style of play button. Is it made out of the same material? Is it made out of a cheaper material? Let's find out. So there's a couple differences that we can see right off the bat. This one is the one I got about a year and a half ago, right here for Jerry Rig Everything. It's a little bit smaller than this recent one. This one's for the What's Inside family. And Dan, why does yours have a hole cut out of the center of it?
We already cut one in half for our main channel, and I thought, how cool would it be to take the play out of the YouTube play button? So they don't come like this with the triangle out of the middle, but we took the play out of it.
And I'm glad you did that because that's the actual sample that we're gonna use inside of this electron microscope. So if you look at this microscope, the inside chamber right here that we put the samples into isn't super huge. So it's nice when you have a really small sample, you get a better analysis. We've already done an elemental analysis of the original silver play button. We realized that there is no silver inside of it. It's mostly nickel. I think it's like 94% nickel. But now that we have this play button, it looks like the interior is made out of something different, something besides nickel, and that's what we're here to find out. Another difference is that this award part right here is written on the glass itself. And for the What's Inside family channels, nothing's written on the glass, it's all printed on the paper inside, which is probably more cost effective. So what do you think, Dan? Do you think that they changed the size, the frame, and the material to be more cost effective?
I would imagine there's a lot more YouTubers that are hitting 1 million and of course hitting 100,000. I mean, this is our second channel that we've hit it with. And so I'm curious to see, because we brought our gold play button and our silver play button up here, and we were able to see what that machine told us what this was made of. But I want to see what this new one's made of. I think it's going to be different. Look at the back of that.
Look at that.
It's different. Where's the other one? Oh, you haven't taken it off yet.
It's made in the USA at least. That's
yeah, at least
cool.
they put that on there.
Dude, it's a lot more lightweight than I thought it would be.
All right, let's check them out. Side by side, look at the difference. What about the back side?
Mine looks a little bit cleaner and more polished. Yours is like industrial.
Yeah.
You can see the injection points from the mold that they used to inject it. The chunk of the silver play button we have in this cup is sitting in acetone. So if it was plastic, it already would have been dissolved. Luckily, it looks like it's still in one piece, so we know for sure it's not plastic. We gotta find out what it's really made of. All right, so this is the electron microscope. Inside of the electron microscope is where we're gonna stick this sample, the inside of the silver play button. Just gonna rest it right there on top of that little platform. And here inside of the machine, this is a view that not very many people get to see, is this little platform right here, and there's a series of little motors and pulleys, and this moves the platform inside so it can sit underneath this little nozzle, and that's where we get our images from. So this whole machine right here costs about $700,000. The part that we're most interested though is this part right back here. This is the Energy Expressive X-ray spectrometer, and it spits out X-rays into here to figure out what the elemental makeup is of whatever sample we have inside. The electron microscope is able to differentiate different elements on an elemental level simply by putting the sample inside of this machine. And that'll tell us exactly what the silver play button is made of. So if you listen very closely, there's a high-pitched sound. And right now it's pulling all of the oxygen, all of the air out from inside of this machine. Because as you know, oxygen and all of the other molecules inside of the air have their own elemental makeup. And so we have to have 0 air inside of the machine to get an accurate reading on the play button itself. So there's several cameras inside of this electron microscope. If you remember seeing those motors and pulleys, it's moving the platform underneath the electron beam. We can also raise the sample up and lower it with that same platform. So this is a live camera inside of the machine. So the sample's being read inside the machine. If you remember, when we put it down inside of that little platform, the shiny side was facing up. And so with that shiny side, this is the elemental reading that we're getting from it. Right here it says that it's 92% nickel, and there's a little bit of zinc and a little bit of carbon. The carbon is kind of like the impurities and stuff. You're gonna have that with any sample. So we can pretty much safely assume that we're looking at 92% nickel and 2% zinc for that surface area. So now we're gonna depressurize this machine. We're gonna let air back into it, take the sample out, flip it up on its side, and go for a second reading of the internal of the play button. So right now we're still doing the cross section, and so here we can see the internal section of the play button, and then this band right here, this layer, that's the shiny part, the exterior. Here's another little shot of that. And so we know that this part does have the nickel in it, but now we want to see what the actual center of the button is made up of.
So I think this is super interesting because the other play button was all pure nickel, the same thing, even the inside of it, where this one, the scientist that we're working with here, who does not want to be on camera, which is fine, she coined this as the inside junk. So even she, by using the term of junk, is basically denoting that it might be a little cost effective and material that's not as pure as what was on the other one. I thought that was interesting.
So here's the cross section that we're looking at here. And then once we get into this image, you can see this is the cross section. This is what the microscope is actually looking at. And this is the elemental makeup of each of the elements in that cross section. So zinc is right here, which is the majority of the cross section, but as we get close to the edge here, we see that's where the nickel is at, and this color is representing the nickel. We have a little bit of copper, and I'm guessing that copper is used to join the nickel to the zinc. There's also a little bit of aluminum, but we can see here that it's only 4%, so that's pretty much a non-issue here. The majority of it is going to be the zinc and the carbon, and we have the zinc and the carbon, so the carbon is mixed pretty well inside of that. Which I think is pretty interesting, because when you take carbon and you add it to iron, you get steel, and that carbon is used to strengthen the iron to make the harder material, which you get is steel. So I'm guessing what they've done here with this button is they've added the carbon to the zinc to make it stronger, and the play button will last longer that way. But carbon is also extremely cheap, and so is zinc. So let's see how much each of these play buttons weigh. The silver one from before and the newer silver one, and then we can kind of get an idea of how much each of them cost to actually make. All right, let's go weigh these things. Pounds.
Hold on, before we weigh things, Zach, make sure you put this on.
Yeah, I'm not putting those on. Here is my silver play button. This is the original one. We're gonna go ahead and drop it onto the scale. And it looks like we're at 1/3 of a pound, 0.3 pounds. And add on the What's Inside family channel, we're at 0.38 plus right on 0.41. So it's a little bit heavier. So to recap, this is my play button. This is the What's Inside family play button. Mine is made out of nickel, which is about $5 per pound if you're just doing like the raw weight of the metal. This one is made out of zinc and carbon, which ends up being about 25 cents per pound, just the raw metal weight.
To put that into perspective, last year alone there were 24,000 people that hit 100,000 subscribers. So not everybody redeems their award, but if they did, YouTube would be saving around $32,000 a year at that same rate just by making this button over that button. So while mine is bigger, it's not as expensive as this one. $1.60 I think is what we mapped that out to, and about 25 cents. Not very expensive considering how much this means to every YouTuber that actually hits the award. But by making this button less expensive, they're saving around $32,000 a year according to our estimates.
And remember, those numbers are just for the metal weight itself. We're not talking about like the manufacturing cost, because like this button, where it's finished on both the front and the back, like it's shiny, nice, and like finished. This button is not finished at all on the back. It has that raw industrial feel to it, which actually saves a lot of money. If we look really closely on the back, you can see the actual injection points for the mold. So they didn't bother to finish that at all, which makes sense because no one's ever gonna see the back of the play button besides us.
Except for us weirdos.
We're the only two channels who are gonna open these things up.
One thing I really like, according to Social Blade, there were 25 channels a day in 2015 that would hit 100,000 subscribers. In 2016, that was 44 channels a day. So almost doubling that number. And so every single year, you're seeing more and more people that are becoming subscribers on YouTube, that are gaining subscribers.
Even though YouTube can now make probably about 5 or 6 play buttons for the cost of one of these, it's still, the most important part is that they actually are giving away an award for hitting a milestone. I think they are the only social media platform that actually rewards their creators when they hit these milestones.
And I am so grateful for it. Like, we took our gold play button around the world. Like, we really are grateful for the award. It sits prominently in our office. Really proud of the achievement and really thankful for all of our subscribers that actually choose to subscribe. Like 100,000 or 1 million. those are a lot of people that have subscribed, and I'm certainly grateful for it. Like, it's more than the metal that's inside of it. It really is the subscribers, like you guys, for subscribing to our channels. It means so much.
I'm never gonna melt it down because I love my award as well.
I know a lot of you guys that have watched What's Inside even one time are looking at this going, Dan, how did you cut that so perfectly? It wasn't me, I promise, but it was really interesting the way that we cut it.
Dan is not an expert with tools, but if you want to watch the video where he cuts this open, I will link that at the end of this one. And I do appreciate you guys a ton. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below. I will link Dan's channel at the end of this one as well. Thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.